As we read the story, we realize that Jesus is sending his disciples across the Sea of Galilee in a boat. It's kind of one of those things, you go ahead and I'll catch up with you later. And they did what he said. But there must have been questions, running through their minds. I mean, exactly how and when was Jesus going to catch up with them later? I mean, they are on a boat in the sea. So the disciples get into the boat and try to make their way across the sea, back to the western shore. And all through the night, they pull at their oars, they bail water. They know they're not going to make it, and all of a sudden now a ghost or the Grim Reaper is coming to get them. Because it is dark. It is dark as midnight. And see, the thing is, darkness exaggerates everything. 100 yards in daytime looks 10 miles at night. If someone you love is 100 miles away, when night comes, it seems 1,000. Night just does things. How many of you, if you remember, have come home from seeing a horror movie, and you could have sworn the telephone poles were moving, They were coming behind you, and you could hear them walking faster and faster. We can't be too hard on the disciples here, because if I thought I saw a ghost, I'd be scared. It's like, holy, mackerel. I remember the one night I came to church at night. I usually come to church at night, late, 11:30, 12 o'clock. And I came that day to bring some stuff. And a church can be a scary place at night. Because everything is dark and you are alone. I dare you to be in this sanctuary at 12 o'clock when everything is dark. So, I didn't think anyone else would come in. Of course, it was late. And I was making copies, and I saw something out of the corner of my eye. And so I looked, and there was Shirley, my wife, standing right there. She didn't say a word. She didn't say anything. She just appeared there. And I started to scream like a little school girl, And it's not that Shirley's scary. No. But it was so unexpected. So when I hear that the disciples were afraid, I might have been scared as well. Absolutely. Because it was a terrifying experience for those disciples that night. I mean, mind you, they are fishermen. They know their stuff. They've been in the water so many times. But here they are crowded in a flimsy boat in the dark and with the wind against them. And the wind can be against us. And we know it from personal experience, or if not yet, we'll know it before our life is done. Someone lately spoke to me recently about her frustration in making any progress in finding a job. The wind is against her. You have had days like that, weeks like that, or months probably like that. You take one step forward and 4 steps backward. it takes an enormous amount of energy just to stay where you are, and not lose ground. And it was precisely when the disciples were rowing for their dear life against the wind that Jesus came walking toward them on the sea. And it really does pay to know where the rocks are. That was a joke. Okay. And across the water came the words, "Be not afraid. I am here. It is I am. Be not afraid." Well, easier said than done. Especially since there seems to be so much to fear these days. Fear of death, fear of life, fear, why people, why students cheat on tests, because there's a fear of failure, fear of, fear of having a disease, fear of having a helpless parent, fear of being alone, fear of not being loved or liked, fear of not being adequate, fear of being in a new situation, a new schoolroom, a new college room, for example. Fear of others. Just look at the situation that is going on in Virginia and not many other places. Fear is part of all of us. And fear often hurts us. Because fear has a way of leading us in different directions. And some people smother their fear with alcohol or drugs. Some try to pretend they are not afraid. And some deny that there's anything to be afraid of. And some say that having enough faith will handle it. And like Peter, I think we tend to alternate between faith and fear. Between, I can get through this, and, this storm will never end until it takes me under. Sometimes we go through both at the same time, the same moment. Because fear marks so many of our human hearts. And Peter was not the exception. Peter steps onto the water and then he starts to sink. He panics. Hello, Peter, hello, what are you thinking? And my mother would ask, if Jesus jumped off a cliff, would you do it? Have you had that sinking feeling lately? Maybe you haven't attempted to walk on water lately. But you know what fear feels like. So will you let your fears defeat you? Take heart. Be not afraid, Jesus said to Peter. A teenager once told her father, "You'll never learn to dance if you're always thinking about how you look on the dance floor." And you and I will never learn to live if we pay too much attention to all that is working against us. And we will sink for sure. Now, the truth is that there is not always a lot we can do against that which does not wish us well, except to keep from giving it more power than it deserves, except to trust that there is a power greater than all that would try to do us in, except to ask for help when we need it, as Peter did. Peter said, "Lord, save me." As soon as he asked, Jesus immediately, reached out his hand and caught him, saying to him, You of little faith, why did you doubt? Jesus told Peter that he hadn't had enough faith. I know what you're thinking. And in the usual sense, that seems an unrealistic and unfair accusation. It also seemed less than helpful. I wonder if what Jesus was saying to Peter was not that he should have had enough faith to stay on top of the water, but that he should have had enough faith to reach out to Jesus sooner. I believe that it was not the storm that sank Jesus, but Peter. It was fear and his inability to believe in the sustaining presence of God in the midst of the storm. Because God is here in the world, in the depth of our need. And this is a reality only faith can know. We cannot do a thing in the world about our lives being difficult. We can only do something about how we handle a dark moment, the difficulty, the fear that brings paralysis to our human soul. Well, let me say something about faith. Faith is not the absence of fear, but the courage to walk through the fear. To take the hand that is offered. To be courageous is not to be fearless, but it is to be able to act in spite of fear. And the thing is, we cannot control whether or not we're going to be visited by fear, but we can decide whether or not we're going to invite fear in and let it live in our hearts and control what we do. Every day we have a choice. Every day we decide which it will be for us. Whether it will be faith or whether it will be fear. And this is the point and counterpoint of human existence. Every day we decide whether or not we believe more deeply in the winds that blow against us or in the power that can keep us steady in the face of the winds. And the thing is, faith is not something we gain in full by immediate, sharp human perception. Faith is never settled once for all. You never get to check off have faith on your list of accomplishments. Faith is not like eyesight or hearing or instinctive like eating or drinking or sleeping. Nor do we have faith by working it all out in theory and saying, yes, it must be right. From numerous standpoints, faith looks ridiculous. The thing about it is that faith only functions when we take the risk and try it. Someone said you cannot discover new oceans unless you're willing to lose sight of the shore. Faith is like walking on water. It cannot be proved. And it does not provide a substantial path ahead of us like concrete or granite. And the option of faith appears to be precarious. We only know if faith will support our way by trying it. And the thing is, when we live by faith, we won't always get it right. Doubts will intrude. Temptations will unsettle us. We will be at risk. But remember this, Christ will not let us sink, because He's always there for us. We will never know that, of course, unless we try it for ourselves. So when we find ourselves standing on a surface that won't support us, when the ground beneath us is no more substantial than water, we have two choices. We can sink, or we can reach out. Neither one of them sounds, appealing, but the choice is pretty clear. Walk toward Jesus or sink. You will never know that unless we try it for ourselves.